With the hours I have in Dauntless and my playtime with the axe, I wanted to make a strong melee build that had no stamina issues that attacked pretty fast. So we have that. And we also have another build later that's a bit more questionable, but maybe it'll be insane in the future with new additions and items to the game. You never know. Anywho, the build we have currently uses armor of your choice. I'm going with lightweight. You can go heavy, you can go medium, you can go ultra flop, you can be a freaking diving penguin. Go crazy, right? Your life, your choices, go nuts. Relic choice, Diverting Heart with melee attack speed, melee crit chance, and melee crit damage. You don't need this heart, but it's nice for the cooldown reduction if we even need it, which in some cases we actually one-phase bosses, which is insane. This may be word cut in the video, my bad, but the Quilted Heart is insane. This is what I used on one of my fights against the Koala Reeves nerd, and this negates stamina usage, meaning for 20 seconds you pop this relic, you then can't lose stamina, and you have infinite usage of your charge attacks. The Amulet is going to be the Butcher's Fetish for the crit chance and crit damage. Rings, Berserkers Crest for the charge speed. Stamina cost is nice if you want to mix things up a little bit and lose a different ring, but mostly the charge speed right here. Prob Cord for the crit damage. Fae Warrior Ring for the melee damage, just 15% flat noise. And Bisected Ring because stamina is only merely a word to us. It has no meaning though. You could swap this ring out though. If you want to go even more damage, go ahead and plop yourself on some of that Burden of the Destroyer, baby. Yes, right, I got that. I went ahead and raided folks Ward 13s and I took their ring, which honestly, I don't think it actually takes the ring from them. I think it just, for some reason, the best way to get these items you don't have from Cass is going into random Ward 13s and going to their shop. But be careful. These folks aren't friendly. I was shot. I was tased. I was kicked. I was discriminated against. Go ahead and back away. Okay. Go ahead and sprint for it, sprint for it, sprint for it. I knew it. Yo, I knew it. Yo, what the fuck is that shit? There's one more piece of gear you can use for certain fights that are dodge heavy, and that is the Akari warband. You get 15% crit damage and crit chance for dodging attacks that last 15 seconds. The traits I recommend for melee builds will always be Flashcaster for faster mod and skill casting speeds, Swiftness for better move speed, and Expertise for cooldown reduction. The rest sort of depends on what you're going for. If you're using modifiers in your builds, like from your actual weapons, then then Spirit and Arcing Strike are going to be good options for more mod generation and more mod gen from melee attacks. If you're using the Tremors on the Ravager fight for some reason, Amplitude's a decent option if you have extra points. And if you're using ranged weapons like the Krell Axe and the Huntress Spear, those in particular, footwork does affect your movement speed while holding the throwing attacks for those. If you don't throw them instantly and you actually hold it lining up your shot, you get more move speed from footwork, which is kind of neat. Otherwise, you can go for Bark Skin, Vigor, and Fortify for more damage or survivability, I guess. Or if you're using not the Bisected Ring and you need the stamina regen, you can go Recovery for more stamina regen, and or Endurance for more stamina. The archetypes I use for melee builds currently is going to be Challenger, Invader, and the Alchemist. So how I ordered it varies, but almost always going to have Challenger as my primary or secondary archetype. And depending on the fight, if it's a stationary fight, I go Alchemist because the mist, plant that, swing away. If it's a fight that's more mobile, I go Invader. Or if it's a fight where it's ranged, I also go Invader. And if Invader's your primary as well, using your abilities gives you another decoy. And that is huge for damage uptime. You get like 3 seconds of just swinging. And one tip for Challenger, try and pop your relic close to the boss because it makes it take more damage. And you also take less damage when you pop your abilities from Challenger near the boss as well. If you guys didn't know, just because a perk gives you damage doesn't mean it affects all damage. Not all damage is treated equally. If it says range damage, it does not apply to melee. If it says weak spot damage, it can apply to melee. If it says range weak spot, it does not apply to melee. Maybe the spears and throwing weapons, but it's confusing, all right? It's a whole convoluted thing. Weapon choice doesn't matter that much because you're not supposed to be shooting your gun, all right? It's not pure. It's not holy. You're going against the church of melee, okay? In my case, though, I am using the Tremors and the modifiers and whatnot in some cases, so I got my toes out of the church a little bit, but it is what it is. I'm trying to have fun in this game. So Tremors and Time Wave, that's a more niche thing. On Ravager, it's a pretty good option because it can kill the nerds and slow them down to kill them so they don't hit you. And for the long gun, primary weapon, Boar. Boar can go on your secondary or primary, doesn't matter, you want Boar. This will create weak spots, which should last 12 seconds. if you ask me, or 15, or 100, you never know, but longer than it does. And these weak spots can be hit by melee weapons. And I mean melee, like you're close range swinging, right? Batting 1,000. That can make your hits hit weak spots, and that's a lot of freaking damage. If you're in search of a modifier that won't take it that far away from the Church of the Melee Gods, then Deceit has what you're looking for. The downside, though, is 1440 mod power requirement is hilarious. And for the weapon, you can choose whatever you like, but Stonebreaker, I believe, is the most damage you can get in the most ethical way. That was weird. I was like trying to use a lisp there, and I just couldn't even speak. So Stormbreaker, because you can hit twice. You hit with the actual blade itself if you're close enough, and then the Tremors, or I guess Shockwaves, also hit. It's a lot of freaking damage, bro. And the Overdrive is going to be a mutation. You get 25% crit chance and 45% crit damage. If you want to swap weapons, I would suggest some other things for other reasons. If you're on a fight where you don't want to get close, and there's fights like that, for instance, Abomination, on that fight in particular, I used the Krell Axe, and it was fun, and I still use the crit chance modifier or mutation, so that was a choice I went with. And I have, I believe, killed the giant floating head thing, the brood nest mother. You know the thing, okay? You know the thing. Don't even play like you don't. I used the Huntress Spear, which does the most weak spot damage with a thrown weapon that I'm aware of. And I used, again, I hope, Overdrive. And that did a lot of damage, bro. A lot of damage. So you have options for different things. If you're doing the cube melee only because you want to find out if God's real, go ahead and use the Krell Axe, because that's going to be the fastest throwing weapon that has a decent chance of making you not hit everything. And I did that without even having Berserkers Crest for even faster charge speed. Golly, it was tragic. But with this build, you basically go into a fight, you have to wait for the right opportunity, and when the opportunity arises, go ahead and pop all your buffs, okay? Shoot the full bore, and then get to swinging. And that's your damage. That's it, basically. You don't need full bore necessarily, but it is nice. I do wish it lasted longer, because it's like a hassle. I think that the duration of it lasting also takes into account the fact that it burrows into targets. Or maybe not, but 6 seconds ain't long enough, bro. Anywho, that is what I'm using for the most damage, okay? But there was a build before this one. A build that predates common sense. A build that I thought was sick. I didn't know that Butcher's Fetish was good. I didn't even buy it. I was like, oh, this is not very good. And I was using instead, I think when I killed it, I used Downward Spiral. But for the longest time, I used something called Vengeance Idol, which gave you more damage for being half HP. And you may be asking yourself, how the heck were you half HP? Like, you just get hit, you're playing Dauntless, you get hit to activate Rage and Rage and whatnot, and Shroud's effect. No. As a ring you can use. You sacrifice damage. Because I didn't have Berserker's Crest at the time, but this ring makes you half HP all the time, and you take 15% reduced damage, so that's nice, I guess. And then for my weapon, I used the Stonebreaker again, usually. And I had the, was it Weapon Lord? No. Vengeful Strike. When you're below 50% HP, you get 50% more damage. And level 10, you get 15% more crit chance. And that sounds amazing, right? Because it's just really easy to see. There's no stacks, there's no math. You have to do it all. There's no multiplication, which would be easy to do. But no multiplication, 50%, 15%, crazy, right? So Downward Spiral gives you 15% more melee attack speed and up to 20% damage. So I thought that was also the bee's knees. But it just wasn't. It wasn't that good. And this also works off missing HP as well. Golly, dude. Looking back on it, I'm kind of mad because I forced this build to work. I really did. So I don't recommend that on my worst enemy because it just wasn't ideal. I did kill Ravager on Apocalyptic though, using this build. I didn't use full bore either, but I just backspaced, slammed down a lot. It was not smart. I feel dumb. I feel really dumb. I don't know why I had to be different so bad. I was like, I had to be different. But in my defense, I didn't have Berserker's Crest, which is just so good, so I didn't know. But yeah, that's the melee builds. Hopefully you guys have fun, and hopefully they buff some stuff. I think one thing I wish they would add, because I'm a wisher, if you guys didn't know, I wish they'd make it so you could have 2 melee weapons, right? Maybe you ditch your secondary or your primary and you have 2 melee weapons. If you hold down left click, it's your primary melee weapon. If you hold down right click, it's your secondary melee weapon. I think that that'd be lit for melee players. Then you could have a close range melee, Stonebreaker, and a, ranged melee, the Huntress Spear or the Krell Axe. You'd have options. Be lit. And one thing I didn't mention, I don't think, people use World's Edge. I think that weapon kind of sucks. It's good for stagger damage, but its overall damage blows. It's not good if your goal is to be using it for range. And if you're using it for close range, you go Stonebreaker anyway. So I'm just saying. The only redeeming factor is the stagger damage. And Hero Sword needs to get buffed. So, yeah. Anywho, that's the video. Also, wait. We need modifiers for melee weapons. Like actual modifiers for some. Now I'm done. That's the video. Thank y'all for watching. Have a good day or night. And appreciate the support. Really do. Peace. Rolled and smoke, baby. First try. Tell you what. Delete the VOD. Huh?